Today on The World Today. It's Christmas Day across the globe, but a muted one for many. Despite the rising number of COVID-19 cases around the world, people still tried to make it home for the holidays. Plus, former Malian opposition leader Soumaïla Cissé dies at the age of 71. Hello everyone and a Merry Christmas to you. I'm Layo Adegoke. It's Christmas Day today and muted celebrations are going on around the world because of the pandemic. For many, this Christmas is a time for reflection. It is also a moment of gratitude and bringing joy to those who have experienced little of it this year.
Nel Natale celebriamo la luce del Cristo che viene al mondo.
The world experiences a Christmas like none other, and amidst the coronavirus pandemic, head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, calls on political and business leaders to not allow market forces and patent laws to take priority over making vaccines available to all. Pope Francis gave his usual message to the world this year from a lectern inside the Vatican instead of from the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica before tens of thousands. For the Archbishop of Canterbury, this has been the year of walking through the valley of the shadow of death.
For 2020 has been, for so many, the darkness of COVID, of economic crisis, of climate emergency, of evils of racism, of war, of genocide and persecution. For billions around the world, 2020 has been the year of walking through the valley of the shadow of death.
Faithful made it to church in the Philippines with face shields and masks and sitting over a meter away from each other. Many still prefer to attend Mass physically. The church, which usually accommodates 800 worshippers, only allowed in 80 at a time, following government protocols on mass gatherings.
Every day, and especially during
For the first time since a fire that nearly destroyed it, the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France, played host to a Christmas Eve choral concert, an annual tradition in the country. The choristers, wearing construction hard hats and boiler suits, performed classical pieces by composers Mozart and Schubert, also a more light-hearted. In Bethlehem, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Pier Battista Pizzaballa, led Christmas Eve midnight Mass in the Church of the Nativity, believed to be the birthplace of Jesus. The Mass in the West Bank town of Bethlehem, which usually attracts hundreds of tourists and worshippers from around the world, was nearly empty this year amid COVID-19 rules and restrictions. As millions of Christians around the world are confined to their homes, Egypt cancelled Christmas and New Year's Eve celebrations, but kept churches open and has so far mainly depended on urging citizens to take precautions. Its small Catholic community attended midnight Mass in Cairo, the capital.
More than 2,000 years ago.
In the United States, President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump wished Americans a Merry Christmas and praised first responders, service members, and the medical community for saving lives and fighting COVID-19.
We are delivering millions of doses of a safe and effective vaccine that will soon end this terrible pandemic and save millions and millions of lives. We're grateful for all of the scientists, researchers, manufacturing workers, and service members who have worked tirelessly to make this breakthrough possible. It is truly a Christmas miracle.
And the job of Brexit is never done. The EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier led a meeting with ambassadors from 27 EU countries in Brussels today to start reviewing the Brexit deal with the UK. The two sides reached a deal just 7 days before Britain exits one of the world's biggest trading blocs on December 31st.
On Christmas Eve,
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson posted a video on his Twitter account on Thursday delivering his Christmas message, filled with hope, especially on the new deal.
and here it is. Tidings, glad tidings of great joy, because this is a deal to give certainty to business and travellers and all investors in our country from the 1st of January, a deal with our friends and partners in the EU.
Many have not been able to see Santa physically this year, but he did drop by a children's hospital in Moscow. He was seen climbing down hospital walls, bringing joy to the children.
Well, anticipation for Christmas was low this year, though people still looked forward to the season to help lift their spirits. In the United Arab Emirates, however, spirits have been running high, especially with a gingerbread replica of Dubai's iconic building, which added some cheer. Creators of the pastry installation say it's all to bring hope this season. Our Dubai correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, gives us more details.
The hunt for the latest attractions across the city is on. At the heart of the H in Dubai, this 16 feet tall gingerbread installation is giving hope to tourists and residents. Inspired by the world's tallest building, Burj Khalifa, which has its 163 floors standing at 2,716 feet, creators have been hard at work since October to get this replica ready for the Christmas season.
We thought about doing Sheikh Zayed Road like last year, but no. Today, well, this year is a special year, so we want something new, something special, full of hope. And Burj Khalifa is really an iconic.
250 hours, over 50 kilograms of flour and 30 kilograms of sugar later, a team of 8 chefs got the job done.
One each cookies we join together with royal icing. So it's made from the cookies and royal icing itself, and they will stack each other. So we build one by one until get right.
2020 has been a hard year, no thanks to COVID-19, and with millions of people still infected globally, anything to bring hope for the coming year 2021 is welcome.
It's happiness, it's festive, it's joy, it's families, it's being all together around something that we believe we're going to go through. It's as well gastronomy, and it's gourmandise in French, we say. And it's playful, and we want to be entertained. I think we need to breathe and have fun. So, yeah, it's a good symbol, I think.
It's amazing what the guys did, and it's great to see this tower with those ice and Christmas trees and everything. It's just perfect.
In another part of town, 4,600 pieces of gingerbread are stacked to recreate another iconic monument, the Dubai frame.
The frame, so it's called the symbol of hope and prosperity. And I think we're coming all from quite a difficult year, right? And all we need is really hope, and we need to look forward to the future in a very positive way.
At 15 feet high, this installation took a team of 20, over 1,500 hours to make, from concept to delivery, and even needed the help of structural engineers.
Our hotel has an engineering department. They have our colleagues who knows that supposed to sustain a structure long enough or tall enough and to be stable in the lobby, and the safety-wise has to be proper. So they assisted us with the basic support with the designing the frame. And then once it was somewhere close to our expectation and their way of working, and then it came up like that.
I think after what we've been this year, which has been really tough, from lockdowns to not being able to probably spend time with our families or friends the way we used to, little things really matter the most, and especially during this time of the year.
Creators say they won't be sharing these cookies to members of the public for hygiene and safety reasons, and plan to remove the installations after the festive season.
Oh, we have more Christmas stories for you, but in the meantime, let's look at some other stories making headlines around the world. Here in Africa, longtime leader of Mali's opposition, Soumaïla Cissé, has died. He was aged 71. His demise comes 2 months after his release from lengthy captivity by Islamist insurgents. Cissé is a former finance minister who finished runner-up in the 2013 and 2018 presidential elections to Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, and he was considered among the favorites in a vote expected in early 2022 after Keïta's overthrow in an August military coup. His spokesperson, Nuhum Togo, confirmed that he died last night in Paris without providing further details. However, the French media reports that he died of COVID-19. Cissé was kidnapped in March by gunmen while campaigning for legislative elections in the northern region of Timbuktu. He was released in October alongside French aid worker Sophie Petronin and 2 Italian hostages. While he was being held, a military junta overthrew Keïta, blaming him for persistent insecurity caused by jihadists linked to the Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, as well as high-level corruption. Under pressure from regional states, the junta officially ceded power in September to a transitional government that will govern for 18 months. However, military officers retained sweeping influence across the government. Well, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says his country would like to have better ties with Israel, but criticized Israeli policy towards Palestinians as unacceptable and a red line for Ankara, adding that intelligence talks resumed between the two sides. The two countries have had a bitter falling out in recent years, despite strong commercial ties, expelling ambassadors in 2018. Ankara has repeatedly condemned Israel's occupation in the West Bank and its treatment of Palestinians. Speaking to reporters after Friday prayers in Istanbul, Erdogan said Turkey had issues with people at the top level in Israel and that ties could have been very different if it were not for those issues. Turkey and Israel, former allies, expelled each other's top diplomats in 2018 over clashes when dozens of Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces on the Gaza border. Ankara and Tel Aviv continue to trade with one another. We'll talk about a lucky rescue as an Australian expeditioner is medically evacuated from Antarctica following a 5-day mission involving ships, helicopters and planes. Australia, China and the US collaborated in efforts to bring the patient back home. The Australian Antarctic Division, AAD, hailed the outstanding success of an operation it described as complex and challenging. Details of the patient's condition were not made public, but officials say it is not related to coronavirus. The expeditioner was at Australia's Davis Research Station in East Antarctica when the mission began. The AAD said that unfortunately for the operation, the Chinese icebreaker happened to pass by. It dispatched its helicopters to transfer a team of Australians to a site some 40 kilometers inland so that they could build a skiway for a US aircraft to land on and pick up the patient. Still ahead on The World Today. A message we need now more than ever. Queen Elizabeth calls for a spirit of selflessness in her Christmas message. Please stay with us. Welcome back to The World Today. The reality is that the coronavirus pandemic remains a major concern around the globe as infection numbers, continue to grow, reaching over 79 million. The question, however, now is how to handle the new variant of COVID-19 that's springing up in different parts of the world.
We begin in the United States, where the government says all airline passengers arriving from the United Kingdom would be required to test negative for COVID-19 within 72 hours of departure, starting Monday, amid concerns about a new coronavirus variant that may be more transmissible. The advice comes from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as a turnaround after the Trump administration told U.S. airlines it was not planning to require any testing for arriving UK passengers. Meanwhile, the heat of the traditional holiday season peaked in U.S. travel by air and other public transportation across the U.S. has also entered the peak period, making medical experts worry about the huge risks of COVID-19 infection among the increasing travelers. The Japanese government is calling on citizens to spend a silent new year to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, which has been breaking infection records almost on a daily basis. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga also announced a package of $2.6 billion for hospitals treating COVID-19 patients, which have come under strain due to the rapid rise in cases across the northern island of Hokkaido, as well as large cities like Tokyo and Osaka. Meanwhile, visiting professor at Tsinghua University, Martin Jacques, says Western countries have failed in the fight against COVID-19, largely due to the incompetence of their governments and their ignorance about the world.
And we've never been able to get on top of the situation.
Finally, at least 15 people have reportedly died in recent weeks, waiting in queues to cross the border from South Africa into Zimbabwe. Coronavirus is being blamed for the extended time taken for migrant workers to get clearance to return home for the seasonal holiday.
Well, let's know more about how the Christmas festivities are going on in Dubai, UAE. We have our correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, joining us now for more on the celebrations in Dubai. Hi, Mayowa. Good to see you, and a Merry Christmas to you. Now, this is a different Christmas for everyone, seeing we're in the middle of a pandemic. How have the celebrations been going on in the UAE?
Merry Christmas, Layo. Now, as you can see behind me, there are people in this community park having a great time this Christmas. And this is what we've seen all across the city today. The pandemic is still on, obviously, which is why everyone has to wear the mask and, of course, keep social distancing rules. Tourist attractions are open, and there are officials all around to manage people and make sure that people are following the rules. Christmas brunches are going on at hotels across the city. So it really is a festive Christmas. How festive? Is it as festive as previous years? No. COVID is still very much in town. But this is definitely a good Christmas that a lot of people will appreciate, because unlike some other areas of the world where they're on lockdown and not able to go out, here in Dubai, we're able to go out, we're able to celebrate. Of course, private gatherings are banned by government. You're not supposed to have that. Very likely that a few people would have gathered in their houses. But all fair, it's still a good Christmas over here.
Well, that is very nice to hear that it's a good Christmas over there. I see the beautiful sights there. Thank you so much, Mayowa Adegoke, there, our correspondent in Dubai. We're staying with Christmas celebrations. Despite the coronavirus pandemic's attempts to dampen this year's surfing, Santa's in Cocoa Beach event, a socially distanced Santa Claus hit the waves along Florida's Gold Coast to spread the holiday cheer virtually. According to the Space Coast Daily, the annual tradition that happens every Christmas Eve began in 2009 when surfer George Trusett and his wife Nilha were inspired by a Honda ad of surfers wearing Santa Claus suits. The newspaper says that the first year the family created their own Santa and elf surfing outfits, and the event grew every year since then. Organizers of this year's event asked the hundreds of surfers, also known as helpers, who were expected in town to participate by recording themselves in their home turfs and upload their videos on social media as St. Nick rides the waves solo. The aim of the event is to raise money for the Florida Surf Museum and Grind for Life, a charity that helps cancer patients and their families. Well, I'm not a great fan of the water. I could have tried that. Moving on, all many people want for Christmas this year is a simple hug. So say Britain's Queen Elizabeth in her annual festive message, saying it would be hard for those who lost loved ones to COVID-19 pandemic or were separated by restrictions on social mixing. In her traditional pre-recorded Christmas Day address to the nation, the 94-year-old monarch repeatedly spoke of hope for the future, whilst acknowledging millions of Britons would be unable to have their usual family celebrations this year. The Queen herself has had to eschew her traditional Christmas celebrations and is spending the festive season quietly at Windsor Castle with her 99-year-old husband, Prince Philip.
Every year, we herald the coming of Christmas by turning on the lights. And light does more than create a festive mood. Light brings hope. For Christians, Jesus is the light of the world, but we can't celebrate his birth today in quite the usual way. People of all faiths have been unable to gather as they would wish for their festivals, such as Passover, Easter, Eid, and Vaisakhi. But we need life to go on. Last month, fireworks lit up the sky around Windsor as Hindus, Sikhs, and Jains celebrated Diwali, the Festival of Lights, providing joyous moments of hope and unity despite social distancing. Remarkably, a year that has necessarily kept people apart has in many ways brought us closer. Across the Commonwealth, my family and I have been inspired by stories of people volunteering in their communities, helping those in need. In the United Kingdom and around the world, people have risen magnificently to the challenges of the year, and I'm so proud and moved by this quiet, indomitable spirit. To our young people in particular, I say thank you for the part you have played. This year, we celebrated International Nurses' Day on the 200th anniversary of the birth of Florence Nightingale. As with other nursing pioneers like Mary Seacole, Florence Nightingale shone a lamp of hope across the world. Today, our frontline services still shine that lamp for us, supported by the amazing achievements of modern science, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. We continue to be inspired by the kindness of strangers and draw comfort that even on the darkest nights, there is hope in the new dawn.
There is indeed hope in the new dawn. That's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke. Merry Christmas once again.